Go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's 7:04. I'm going to call a meeting to order. Take attendance first. Councillor Brooker, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham? Okay. Does anyone have any written disclosures of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest? Councillor Brooker?
No, I don't.
Councillor Castelline?
I do not.
Councillor Cross?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to action letters. The first item under action letters is 3.1. It's a 2022 municipal election. And under that, there's 3.11 alternative voting method. Ms. Lovelace, do you have something to present? Or is it just a resolution?
On mute.
I would suggest that we put the motion on the table, Your Worship, to talk
Okay.
about the alternative voting bylaw that we presented, and I'm going to ask Barb Major to help speak to that.
So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this resolution. Councillor Brooker, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Castelline, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
So this is open for discussion. And this is the bylaw 2022-031, being a bylaw to authorize the use of alternative voting methods in the 2022 Municipality of Calvin School Board and municipal elections be read and adopted. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
No, I have no discussion.
Councillor Castelline.
This is, of course, in addition to in-person voting at the with the regular method. I'm sure. Also, this electronic voting, because that's really what it is, should that not be available to all residents of Calvin? And as far as I know, there is some residents that do not have access to reliable internet or cell phone, and they have very unreliable bell lines. So I'm not so keen on approving it right now. And also, I understand that the deadline to adopt this resolution is May 1st. It must be done before May 1st. I haven't really had the chance to talk to anybody about alternative voting methods in the municipality of Calvin. I'm really concerned that there may be objections to by the constituents, and that we haven't been able to discuss yet. So it's an extremely short timeline. I feel that it would be better to leave this up to next council to make the proper decision and have more time to implement this. I'm not so sure about this. And on top of that, it's an additional cost because we still have in-person voting. We still have the cost for that. And on top of that, we have the cost for the alternative voting. So I'm a little bit on the fence yet. Thank you. That was my 2 cents.
Thank you. Councillor Cross?
I like the idea of being able to have another way of getting the rest of the residents who can't be here in-person voting. I thought one of the options was going to be mail-in. I'd like to hear more about what Barb Major may have to put in on this option and maybe be able to make more of a decision after hearing what she has to say. I am concerned
Okay.
that if I looked it up and I know that in our general ledger trial balance of 2019, the end cost for the election then was $3,515.88. We have a budget of $4,000. So I'd like to know the end result when it would come to the full cost. Is it going to be both? I don't feel comfortable with that. But yes, I'd like to hear more from Barbara, if that's possible.
Okay, so welcome, Councillor Shippen.
Sorry. Sorry for the
Do you have anything you'd like to discuss on this?
I'd like to hear more, but I also believe that we need to move into the 21st century, and having online voting or e-voting, however, whatever it's e-voting will get more people to the polls instead of either half the township or less. So if there's a way that we can make this work with both e-voting and like mail in or whatever, then I'm okay with that.
Okay. Barbara, can you weigh in here and tell us a little bit about this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Certainly, I can share some information with you with respect to the costing aspect, and that I'll let Peggy speak to that component. I'll speak to the internet telephone voting. I know one of the concerns that was brought up by one of the councillors is that people are unfamiliar with maybe the use of internet or telephone voting. So from that perspective, Voter Help Center is established. The system is very, very user friendly. If they don't have to have an iPhone or anything, that they do it from their telephone. It's quite clear and simple. Or if they need help, a voter help center can be established. The advantages of internet and telephone voting is certainly the convenience. It's easy and it's very straightforward. It's convenient also for your non-residents. It's a really quick voting process. It, in the majority of municipalities, has proven to be cost effective, environmentally friendly. The electronic voting technology itself speeds up the counting of ballots. It reduces the amount of staff and election personnel that are required to count votes manually, and it improves accessibility for voters. Accessibility, an accessibility plan is an important aspect with municipal elections, and it certainly assists in that regard. And the costs are reduced. So in terms of the question, there is a help center that assistance is provided. The system is, like I said, it's online by telephone 24 hours a day for approximately 6 to 8 days prior to election day. So those people that may be traveling out of the country, there's no advance poll, there's no proxy voting, that is eliminated. They're able to do it from the seat of their own home. And that also improves the privacy aspect of it for them. That tends to be a bit of a personal thing when you're casting your vote. And we certainly want to keep that confidentiality there. And this is one way of doing it. I'm not sure if I've answered questions, but those are some of the benefits of this technology. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, Your Worship and Council, that you may have.
I have a question about the mail-in votes. How does that work?
For the mail-in system?
Yes.
So for mail-in ballots, individuals are sent their mail-in ballots that's sent by Canada Post. This is also done by Canada Post, where everybody gets a PIN code, a private PIN code, and they have to sign in. So it's that way, done that way as well. And they have to return the ballots to the municipal office by a certain date. And those are kept in safekeeping. Some of the aspects associated with that could cause a ballot to be rejected is if they haven't signed the proper areas on the form and that sort of thing. But the ballots are kept in safekeeping until election night, at which time then those ballots that are delivered ahead of time, either through Canada Post or in person by an individual to the municipal office, are then counted. And the process would be the same as with any other time.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Brooker?
No, I have no other questions. I agree that it would be nice to have more options for people, and this seems like a way to do it.
Councillor Castline, will you have any questions for Barbara?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it does not do away with the in-person voting, does it?
With in-person
what?
voting, sorry, I didn't hear.
It does not do away with the in-person voting. That is still possible. It is not only electronic voting.
The internet telephone voting, Councillor, is done exactly like that, by internet or telephone. In the procedures, what can be set up, as I indicated, would be a voter help center. And that voter help center at that location, a person can bring somebody with them to assist them. It would still be done by online at the municipal office. So they're not getting a paper ballot in their hand. It would be done online, or they can do it by telephone. And if they need assistance, they can have somebody assist them if they choose to come to a voter help center. If they really don't have anybody that can provide them assistance at their place of residence or wherever.
Well, that's what I mean. It does away with the paper ballot that you have a 1 day, the voting center is open for 1 day and you get a paper ballot. You bring your papers, you get a paper ballot and you cast your vote. That does no longer happen, does it?
You're correct.
Okay.
It also, at the same time, with the paper ballot, takes away the counting of the ballots manually by workers that the municipality would require to hire.
Councillor Cross, do you have any questions for Barbara?
I was hoping that there would still be an option for people. I was under the impression that everybody would be mailed out a voting slip and that either they could do it through electronic or telephone, or they could bring it in. I was under the impression that that's what was going to happen. If there's not going to be anything that's in the office where somebody can bring in this mail out voting slip, I do have a concern with that.
What's that concern? I'm just curious.
There is a lot of people in our municipality that don't do cell phone, don't do electronics, that they want to come in and they want to do the paper. And I think that should be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Schiffman, do you have anything else you'd like to ask of Barbara?
I just want to see if I've got this right. So Barbara, you said that people would be able to come into a reporting center, which could be the town hall, and then they would vote on a computer at the town hall instead of with a piece of paper.
That's correct, Councillor. It wouldn't be promoted as the voting place in such a manner. Each individual gets mailed to them a confidential letter that has their personal PIN information, that sort of stuff. If they do not have the ability to vote at home through the phone, or they don't have a computer or an iPad on which they can do it with either assistance from family or by themselves. If they really are in that sort of situation, then we will have a voter help center. We'll establish that. And what that voter help center does, it does a few things. It can provide information on how to undertake their vote. They can bring an individual with them who, after they've undertaken an oath, can assist them with doing the vote on the computer or the laptop or iPad. And also, if they have, let's say for some reason, their name is not on the voters list, and that amendment can be done as well. But yes, it doesn't become a voting hall. It's there basically as a voter. It's a help center is what it is. My experience in a smaller municipality that I did it, that there were a lot of fairly significant number of people over 65 that maybe weren't solving. We had very little use of the kiosk. Not very many came to the kiosk. They enjoyed the process. They liked the idea of being able to do it confidentially in their own home. But that is still there. They don't get a ballot. They get a pin and their ballot appears on the computer, or it's done verbally via telephone.
Right. So if necessary, they still have the option to come into the health center and vote, but they will
Yes.
not get a piece of paper. They'll
Correct.
have to do it online.
Correct.
All right.
But they would have the letter that was sent to them
Yes.
with their personal PIN number in it, right?
Correct.
Just want to make sure that we don't forget that one. Any other questions, Barbara? Peggy?
I have a couple of comments, Your Worship. One of the reasons that we're recommending this as opposed to doing a mail-in ballot is that when you do mail-in ballots, someone has to monitor the mail every single day. A ballot box has to be opened. It has to be sealed every night. It has to be put into a vault. It is labor intensive. So is having an in-person election, and the electronic voting is very quick. And the advantage of it is that you have less sanitizing to do. If you were doing a mail-in ballot situation, depending on how many polls you have, how many stations you have to do, you're cleaning constantly in between. COVID has required, a lot more sanitization in public spaces. Those require additional bodies, and the municipality just doesn't have the resources at this time to have a paper ballot election. And I'm concerned even with the mail-in one, because then there's the counting and there's all the accountability that you have to go through. And without having a municipal clerk doing it on site, it makes it a challenge. So it's the reason we're recommending this. And Councillor Castelline is right. May 1st is the deadline for making any other decision, whether it's going to be mail-in, whether it's going to be electronic voting. Otherwise, you're having a traditional election. So that's why we actually are recommending this.
Councillor Cross?
I'm a little concerned about the confidentiality and how you know that the person is voting. There seems to be, I'm just not seeing how the residents of Calvin, I don't see them accepting this very easily.
Councillor Castelline?
And just one more remark. It may seem surprising to other people, but Calvin still has some dead areas where no internet is possible. Also, in addition to what Councillor Cross said, my concern is what is called vote harvesting, because somebody could go around and collect PIN numbers and then just start voting online. If you're not doing it in person, then I don't know. maybe I'm the devil's advocate, but I'm having a hard time with this.
All right, any other questions for Barbara? No? Okay. Peggy, do you have something financially to offer, the costs?
So what I can tell you, Your Worship, is depending on the kind of election that the municipality is going to run, that will dictate the costs. And Councillor Cross is correct that it probably cost around that amount of money before, but that didn't factor in any of Cindy's time to run an election, or whoever would have done the previous election if it was Cindy. The cost of at the time of the clerk that's required to manage the voters lists, update everything, be there on election day, do the counting, then you're hiring other bodies to come in and assist. So those are not truly reflective costs. And so again, that cost is just for the technology and the voting. And what it does is it eliminates the cost of having people in your building on a date for that day for election. And it opens up to all of your residents and not just the ones that have to be there in person to vote.
So compared to the $3,800, what would can you guesstimate what it would cost for the to send out the letters to all the residents and then have them vote either at their home with their PIN number or come into the help center and vote there?
So the proposal that I circulated, Your Worship, I believe was around $3,800 for the electronic, which voting, which included the mail out to all of the voters, and where they would assign their PIN and get their PIN number.
So basically the same charge then, same cost.
That part is the same cost. The missing cost is the voters list piece and ensuring that the voters list is accurate.
Wouldn't we have to do that either way?
Yes, you would have to do that either way.
Councillor Brooker?
Just one quick clarifying question. When you say telephone, so people without a cell phone who don't have internet or cell phone service can use their landline and call and place their vote that way. Is that correct? With their PIN?
Correct.
That is true.
Okay.
And,
all right.
And in the 2018 election, I was an election auditor for a municipality that used this exact same one that we're recommending in televote. And they are able to test. I did it on my cell phone, on my landline. I did it on the internet, and I had to test it every single day, several times a day while the vote was happening. And there was no glitches in being able to vote and vote for all of the different places. So the other piece is the school board election that is also included. So it's not just the municipal candidates, it also includes the school board.
Thanks.
Councillor Cross?
So the missing cost of the voters list and putting this all together would be done by Barbara Majors. And do we have an idea of that cost?
If I might, Your Worship, I don't think council's made the decision on who would be the one responsible for the election. I think that's another conversation, but the cost for someone running the election as a clerk would be over and above that. Yes.
Would that cost still be present on our current walk-in paper ballot election?
It would be the same, Your Worship. The cost that the electronic mode, like the way of doing it, what it's saving, is it saving people being an advanced poll? So having someone like Barbara be there for an advanced poll date to run an election or run the advanced poll and then run election day. And that's what really you're saving that time when you would be having people in the building.
Okay. Any other, Councilor Shipman, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, hopefully quick. So each person in the township is getting their own PIN, right?
Correct.
And the only way to know that the person that got that PIN is using it is with the PIN number. It could be somebody else that uses it.
Nobody else should be going into anybody else's mail. Mail tampering is illegal.
Always speeding.
Well, what if, I don't know, say I decide, well, I can't make it today, Trevor, give it to my husband and he can vote for me
Online,
online or by telephone.
and you've given him his permission. If for any reason, let's say fraudulently, somebody has used somebody else's PIN number, that person has the ability to come in. We would have it investigated by the police. They would have to sign off, be satisfactory explanation to the clerk as to what happened to their PIN, why they didn't utilize it. And it would be investigated by the police. And if the clerk is satisfied with the reasoning behind it, then it is possible to issue a new PIN, but only after satisfaction. I've never had that happen.
So, but basically, if I give permission, then it's okay to do that.
What you do in your own home is your business.
Okay.
Councilor Castellan?
Is also the telephone number recorded where, or an IP address recorded where the vote is coming from?
Could you
Yes.
repeat that, please?
Excuse me?
Could you repeat that for me, please?
Is also the telephone number or the IP address that is used to vote also recorded?
It's not, this is all done on a private server. It's not done on the municipal server in any way. It's all done on a private server by the company. So the security and the integrity of the election procedure is completely maintained. So if there is, I believe they would, if there was an investigation, for example, by the police, they would be able to determine the IP address.
Councilor Cross?
I'm just trying to make this very simple understanding on my part. So if I call in on my husband's telephone, it doesn't show, well, does it show his phone number? Like, I mean, can I go to the neighbor's house and use their telephone? Like, how do you know that somebody hasn't collected a bunch of PIN numbers and is calling from the same phone number?
The people that you can cast your vote from anywhere across the world, provided you have your private access number. It's not just the access number that's put in to the system when you want to vote. There's other information that's required as well that is kind of private to the individual. So it doesn't, you can vote, I can vote, well, I can't vote in your municipality, but you could vote from your place of work. You could vote from your own cell, from your own landline that you can, and like if you're out of the country and you're voting from another phone there, you can vote from that phone. There's more than just a PIN number that is shared for a person to have access to their ability to vote via internet or via telephone. So
Thank
it's very, the system is very reliable. The security is paramount with this company, as well as the accessibility, and the integrity of the election procedures is paramount.
Any other questions? No? Okay. So I'm going to call for a vote on this bylaw. And the bylaw is 2022-031, being a bylaw to authorize the use of alternative methods in the municipality of Calvin School Board and municipal elections to be read and adopted. All right. So, Councillor Brooker, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Castellan, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Cross, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Shipham, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay. So this bylaw is passed. Carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so next item on the agenda is 3.1.2, and it's use of municipal resources. Need a mover and a seconder for this resolution, please. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipham, can you second it?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have this resolution by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipham. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin prohibits candidates and members of council running in the 2022 municipal election from using municipal resources, financial, human, or otherwise, for any election-related purposes. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
No. No discussion. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Councillor Castellan.
Discussion, it is a given. You cannot do that.
Okay, Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution, and it's that we agree with the resolution. Are you in favor with the resolution, Councillor Brooker?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castellan?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I'm in favor as well, so this resolution is carried. Next item on the agenda is 3.1.3, automatic recount. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this resolution as well. Councillor Castellan, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipham, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Castellan, seconded by Councillor Shipham. Now therefore be resolved that the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin will not set out an automatic recount for the 2022 municipal election. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
I just wondered in what event would a recount be called for then? If not automatic, is it if someone has to request it? Is that how it will work in this case?
I believe that's the case, but Peggy, would you be able to respond to that?
Certainly, Your Worship. Yes. Councils can, prior to May 1st in the year of an election, decide to set out a requirement for an automatic recount that would say to the clerk that if this happens, then you must do a recount. Alternatively, the Municipal Elections Act requires a clerk to automatically do a recount if there's a tied vote. And then upon application to council, a recount can be requested after by any other individual who's involved in the any other candidate, I guess is what I should say.
Okay.
What this is, the act was amended to allow this so that councils could put in place a percentage difference between votes or what they want to do. Most of the municipalities that I've worked with, I recommend that you don't, you just follow the act. Barb may have some other guidance on that.
Do you have anything to offer, Barbara?
No, exactly what Peggy said, in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act.
Okay, thank you.
So
Councillor Castline, Councillor Castline, do you have anything you'd like to discuss?
Was Councillor Brooker done? I think she wanted to say something else.
I was just going to say, based on that information, I don't have any further discussion.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Councillor Castline?
But we could extend this by saying that automatic recount will happen if, for example, the vote difference would be 5 votes or 10 votes. That would then create an automatic recount. Not only a tied vote, but also a very small vote difference would create an automatic recount. Could we add that in there?
I'm thinking you could if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think the Election Act allows that that possibility.
Okay. Councillor Cross, any discussion?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so we have, okay, so Councillor Castline has brought forth an idea. So I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution the way it's worded, okay? If you're not in agreement with the way this is worded and you want to change it, then you'll vote it down, okay? So I'm going to ask for a vote. Councillor Brooker, are you in favor to proceed with the way this is worded?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castline?
No.
Okay. Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I am as well. So this resolution is carried as it stands. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 3.2. This has come up in the past, and I believe we applied for a card, and we decided not to get one until we had a full-time, like clerk treasurer or whatever in the office. But on an ongoing basis, there is a requirement to pay things by credit card, so we need to have a discussion on this. Do we have a resolution on this, Alicia?
If I might, Your Worship, I did not prepare a resolution for this.
Oh, okay.
It was an item to
Okay.
come to council's attention, and if council wishes to apply for a credit card, I would suggest that we bring this matter forward to the next council meeting with some direction to staff.
I was under the impression we already applied for a card and got approval to do that.
That's what I thought too.
And that, pardon me?
That's what I thought too. It was just a matter of waiting to see whose name or whatever was going to go on the card.
Right. So I think the card is waiting for us at the bank. We just have to put a name on it and say we want it. That might require a little bit more investigation, but I'm practically positive that's where that sits.
I believe that's the case, yes.
Does everyone agree that we need a credit card and we should proceed with this? Councilor Brooker?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Castelline,
Absolutely.
Councillor Cross,
Yes.
Councillor Shipham.
Yes,
Okay, so can we proceed with that investigation to determine if a card is available for us right at this time? I'm pretty sure it is. I know there was some research done on it because in the past we weren't allowed to have a card, but that had changed and we are allowed to have one. And there was a lot of discussion around Cindy and different people having to use their own personal cards to pay for office supplies and office services, and then submit an invoice to the municipality to have that paid back. And we all thought at that time that that wasn't appropriate. No one should have to use their own personal card to pay for a municipal expense. So if we could look into that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Alicia?
Well, I did look into it, and we just a name, but you need, like, on the application, you need, like, your social insurance number, date of birth, like, so we need just someone to say name to the,
So can we change that after it's been issued?
you can cancel it, and you'd have to
Cancel it.
redo,
The application.
because it's a corporate credit card, there shouldn't be one person's name on it. It should just be the town municipality of Calvin, should it not?
I have a corporate card and it says my name on it as well.
Oh, okay.
It says my name and then the company name underneath, actually. But
Because I know some corporate cards they don't have a person's name on it, but cards get issued out to specific people, so you know who's using it for what purpose.
yeah, I have cards that I give to employees when they're traveling, and there's a PIN associated with it,
Yeah,
and they can use the card with that PIN, right? So, but in this case, I don't know if we could do that or not. It still has it's in my those cards are in my name, right? So I'm in the end I'm responsible for it. So you're saying that we need someone's name and social insurance number. Is that correct, Alicia?
correct, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any resolution for that? Who we put on the card with the social insurance number? No?
If it is a corporate card, then I have no objection of putting my name and my social insurance number on there. But I may not be part of council next year, so then we need to have another card. And I think that the card was meant to be semi-permanent. So.
No, I don't think so. But I don't know how that payment would get made. Well, there'd be a limit, like I have a limit on my card, right? And I can't exceed, I have a limit per day on my card. So I can't exceed that limit per day. But I can do that limit every day. But we have to have someone that's monitoring that, right? So, and I'm not suggesting by any means that anyone would do something incorrectly or inappropriate with paying for an invoice. But if you're willing to do that, I'm in agreement to allowing it to happen. I think we need to get, pardon me?
The only thing is, I don't know if it is in conflict with the Conflict of Interest Act, because I think that councillors cannot do business for the municipality. So we need to have somebody who is not on council.
Okay. Would you be able to look into that, Peggy?
If I might, Your Worship, it ought to be a municipal
Yes, ma'am.
employee. There ought to be a bylaw that says the municipalities authorizing the use of a credit card up to a maximum limit and who could be
Okay.
entitled to have that credit card. And I mean, ideally in this situation, it might be Mr. Wally, because Public Works might be the one who uses it most and the odd time admin needs it. Or if the office needs it more, then maybe Alicia's willing to do it. But at this point in time, I think it's definitely got to come back to the table in the form of a bylaw.
Okay. So I think we need to poll both Alicia and Chris to see if they're willing to be the holder of that card. Okay. And then come back with a bylaw at maybe the next meeting, okay, to obtain that card, or to pass the bylaw at least to obtain it. Everyone in agreement to that?
Yes,
Councilor Brooker,
Yes.
Kesline, Councilor
Yes.
Cross,
Yes,
Councilor Shipham.
Yeah.
That seem reasonable, Peggy? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to next item on the agenda is item 4. It's a closed session. And we're going to need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councilor Brooker, can you move this, please?
Yes, I will.
And Councilor Cross, can you second it, please?
yes,
Thank you. Now therefore resolved that council for the municipality, for the corporation municipality of Calvin hereby move into a closed session at 7:51 p.m. Pursuant to the Municipal Act Section 239(2)B to deal with a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, Section 239(2)D, labor relations or employee negotiations, Section 239(2)F, for council to get advice from a municipality's legal counsel, which will be subject to solicitor-client privilege, and 239(2)I, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or the local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organizations to deal with. Okay, the following is employment contracts, employment performance, employment wages and workloads. 2, OILC guaranteed postponement agreement, and confidential workplace investigations. So any discussion on this resolution? Councilor Brooker,
No discussion.
Councilor Castellan,
no discussion.
Councilor Cross,
no,
Councilor Shipham.
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. You vote to move into the closed session, Councilor Brooker,
Yes, I do.
Councilor Castellan,
Yes,
Councilor Cross,
yes.
Councilor Shipham.
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so we're going to move into closed session. Thank you all.